Welcome back, gamers. Justin here with you again, and today we are doing sprint planning number 5. And as you can already tell, I'm doing this a little bit differently than I've done the previous videos. And there's a reason for that. First of all, in this sprint, the only thing that's being worked on is the map. So it's 100% map design, and that's for a couple of reasons. One, it needs to be done. So I don't want to say I've been putting it off, but it's been one of those things where it's like, yeah, this has got to get done, you know, but it's a very important piece to the game. It's what you see, it's what you interact with, it's how how you play the game, right? So it's very important that we get this out and be able to kind of fine tune it and get it to a point where we could release and do a closed beta. Hopefully here in May is the plan. So that is one of the reasons. The second reason is because in my personal life, I do have a bit of stuff coming up here over the next 2 to 3 weeks. And as such, I need to be able to just kind of veg out, if that makes sense. So I don't want to just put this down completely, but I also don't want to be doing heavy lifting inside of the game. And to me, heavy lifting is like doing some of the code work, putting together the kinematics or the inverse kinematics, character models, that kind of stuff, because it's all stuff that I very much have to think about, and it's taxing on the brain. So, I need something that I can just kind of relax and kind of veg out about. So, that's why the second reason, I guess, why we're doing this over the next couple of weeks. The next thing that I want to talk about here is some of the things that you're seeing on the screen now. So as you can see, obviously Sunshine Estates has had a whole kind of revamp already. I am actually renaming this to Sunshine Heights, and I'll get into more of that later. But there are a couple of things that I want to point out here that you're seeing the beginnings of now. So the map does have a full day-night cycle, and so we're seeing sunset here. And then through the majority of this video, it's going to be night, and we'll get back into daytime here. So you'll see like almost a full day-night cycle as we go through this. Additionally, though, I've added in dynamic weather. So let me explain what I mean by dynamic weather. The game will randomly choose when a storm should occur. And storms have varying degrees of severeness, maybe is the best way to put it. So basically what that means is that as the game is progressing through its day-night cycle, there's a random chance for a storm to spawn. And then there's a further random chance for the severity of that storm. And so what we're going to see here is just kind of a light rainstorm coming up shortly, and I'll point it out when we get to that point. But, so it's basically a full day-night cycle. Then we do have storm severity. As the storm severity increases, you'll start to see things like lightning strikes, stronger winds, that kind of stuff. The trees start to really kind of sway around in severe storms. And you'll see a little bit of that as we progress here. But it's just keep in mind that this is like the storm that spawned here was more of towards the lower end of the severity scale. In regards to weather as well, we can also start snowstorms, which you will see towards the end of this video if you stick around for it all. And this is a longer one. This is going to end up being about 20 minutes here. So, feel free to skip around, feel free to do your thing. I'll try to put the chapters in there so that you kind of get the key points if you're just looking for that. But if you love this sultry sound of my voice, stick around and you'll hear, all of the other stuff that's kind of planned here. So so with that, just to kind of summation that or bring that to a summary there, the map is very much overhauled. It is probably going to be rebranded to Sunshine Heights. It does have a full day-night cycle, and it does have storms. So you can have nice clear days all the way to crazy thunderstorms, all the way to severe snowstorms, which results in almost a whiteout condition in some points. The next little piece that'll be worked in here regarding that as well is that as it's raining, you'll start to see water running off of these hills. And there you'll see it as we're kind of progressing past some of these. but there are kind of channels that are already dug out and eroded away that are in place for that very reason. So, as you start to see rain and stuff accumulating on the map, you're also going to have a lot of puddles, a lot of little streams that start to come up, and they all work their way back to the ocean, I guess is what we're going to call it here. Basically towards the outer sides of the map to kind of clear itself like water would. There are also a couple of lakes in the middle of the map. One bigger one kind of towards if we're looking at the screen here, it's more to the left-hand side where we started. And then there is another one that we'll kind of sneak up on here in a little bit that's on the more right-hand side of the map based on the view that we're in now. So, a couple of little lakes. And then as it rains, you're going to start to see kind of rivers and stuff. As it snows, it will start to accumulate, and it does that now, provided the snowstorm lasts long enough. I generally don't let the snowstorm last long enough to accumulate, though. It's more if, more if it's like a long-term snow or maybe, like months of snow or something like that. But I don't really plan on letting it snow that long in the game. It's a kind of a quicker cycle than that. So you won't see a ton of accumulation, but the trees and stuff will start to show it a little bit, but not so much on the ground. So with all of that, let me kind of circle back now and explain why the thought process behind going to a map like this as compared to what you've been seeing this entire time leading up. And there are quite a few factors that kind of play into this. The first one is there wasn't enough verticality to the Sunshine Estates map. And you've heard me kind of talk about that, and I don't even know if verticality is a word, but we're going to call it that, right? It's like the up and down factor, the height factors to a map. And Sunshine Estates was very, and here we're actually getting into a storm, so I'm going to interrupt here in a minute. So this is kind of the beginning of the rainstorm that's coming in, and it will get a little bit worse here, but you'll see some vignetting around the edge of the screen to kind of narrow your focus a little bit. I'm still kind of tweaking that. I think it's a little extreme right now, but as it starts to rain, we'll probably narrow that focus down a little bit, and just kind of bring it in and add to the overall feel of the way a rainstorm is. But I'm going to leave this probably close to full volume in the background. Hopefully it's not, overbearing over my voice, but I'd like for you to hear the effects. Unfortunately, we don't get any thunderstorms here, but that's okay. So, going back, so the Sunshine Heights just didn't have a whole lot of verticality to it. And there were some things that we were going to try and kind of bake into it to try and do that. But what ended up happening in some of the internal testing that we were doing was that they became very dominant spots on the map. And basically, if you controlled the high points, you controlled almost everything. So, and that's very much not what we want. It's like we don't want the people that control the high ground to have the advantage like that. So one of the solutions is to go to a more mountainous terrain, like you're seeing here. And that way there are a lot of kind of hills and valleys and such. And, you get some mountain peaks that still give you that verticality, but then there's plenty of cover and whatnot for you to kind of hide and duck around in and that kind of thing. And we're not done adding to that either. So it's a little bit sparse right now. There will be a little bit more cover added in spots. But for the most part, this is pretty close to what the final... at least biome will look like. So moving into some other areas here, some of the other stuff that, some of the other reasons that kind of drove this was that, going with the map like Sunshine Heights means we need a ton of assets. And we are still working towards that because the Sunshine Heights at some point will become an actual map, but it'll probably be rebranded or something like that. But, I do very much like the idea of having kind of a flatter map that's not so much verticality to it. But at least initially, we're going to shift over and kind of do the Sunshine Heights approach as compared to Estates where it's a very flat map. But going to a model like this, it does help us out in regards to making sure that we're going to have enough models and whatnot to be able to populate the map properly. In the other map, like there were airports and there were houses and neighborhoods and parks and theaters and businesses and just all kinds of stuff. And all of those needed to be custom modeled out. And like I said, the effort on that is not stopping, because that will be a reality at some point. But it's, it's just one of those things where if we're going to meet our deadlines and have a closed beta in May, I've got to be able to kind of move a little bit quicker than what I am now. So that is one of, another one of the big kind of driving factors to that. The next thing is that this is just beautiful, in my opinion. I think that there's something about nature that is appealing. And as you can see, it definitely brought a lot of liveliness to the map. Being able to see things kind of sway back and forth, butterflies floating around, having rain and snow and that kind of stuff. We're kind of coming up on the other lake here. So this is the one that is more towards the, the right-hand side. So we started this video way over on the left-hand side now. And you'll get to see plenty of this in the coming videos. But, that was kind of another driving factor of why we decided to go to this style of a map as compared to the big flat area, with just potentially thousands and thousands of assets that are needed. I would much rather put the time and effort in now into asset creation, into the stuff that's going to be lootable. So, building out medications and food and, just all of the cool stuff that's going to be lootable inside of the game. The weapons, the bullets, the ammo crates, the cases, backpacks, that kind of stuff. Like I would much rather spend the time modeling that stuff out than having to spend the time to model out businesses and, storefronts and then detail all of the interiors and stuff with those. So, like I said, to kind of sum that up, I guess, this is a quicker barrier to entry for us, and one that I don't really feel like will impact the gameplay all that much. And, it doesn't prevent us from doing anything in the future, which is the great part, because like I said, we are going to continue to effort that out, and at some point there will be a map to that effect, excuse me. So, kind of circling back here to the map, this, you can see how this rainstorm lasted, and right now it's very dark on the screen, and that's kind of the next thing that I want to talk about. So I purposely had this storm spawn overnight, and I did that because I wanted to show how dark the map will actually be at midnight, because we're close to midnight here, as well as during a storm. So it doesn't really get darker than this. But you can see that at night, it is a very low visibility situation. And this is where it'll open up the opportunities for us to be able to do things like, thermals and night vision and infrared and that kind of stuff. And it'll also make things like lasers, something that very much makes you pop out. If you're swinging a laser all around as you're walking like this, that's going to be visible for people to be able to see and be able to kind of locate you as a result of that. Now, we're actually coming up on the end of the storm here. So here in a couple of minutes, we'll see the storm kind of lighten up a little bit. We'll see the moon start to come out once again, and this map will very much brighten up, and there you go. Now, I've got the northern lights in here right now. We are up north, so this is very much, in a setting of northeastern United States, and the northern lights are something that's possible, but probably not something that you will see all the time. But again, for the sake of this, because we're kind of showing off the map and talking about it a little bit, I wanted to leave it in there just so you could see some of the things that we can do with the skyboxes and stuff now. But you can see when that storm passed, this is still close to midnight. We're probably closer to about 1 or 2 a.m. right now. And this is the darkness that you'll see, because we do very much keep a full moon. So while the game does have a day-night cycle, we don't have a moon cycle implemented. And that was on purpose. It's one of these things where even though we're at night, we didn't want to give the full advantage to those that are using scopes and night vision and that kind of stuff in the future. So one of the ways to combat that is to just have a brighter map. And the way to do that, obviously, is to have a full moon every night. Now we're getting close to sunrise here, and there it just peaks up over the top. So I'm not in first person view here. So this is a floating cam, so I'm able to kind of rise and fall here as we need to. So that's what we're seeing here. But you know, I wanted to show this off just to kind of show the beauty of the map. At the same time, we're also moving higher in elevation, and I want you to note the change to the trees here. So because these trees are at a higher elevation and we just had a storm, these trees actually saw snow as compared to rain. Which is why the trees have a skiff of snow all sitting on them. Now, the storm didn't last long enough for it to accumulate on the ground. So the ground, you don't see that snow cover, but the trees, they are impacted by that. So, but I think sunrise, sunset are two of the most beautiful times in this game. It is absolutely beautiful in my humble opinion, but you know, that is just my opinion as the developer. So, you know, it's probably a little biased, right? But so now we're kind of getting to one of the highest points on the map. We're going to come into this. This is kind of a very mountainous area up here. You can get up to this area very easily. It is a little bit exposed, and there may be some additions of trees and stuff to try and maybe make this less exposed. But ultimately, we want to kind of play test this and see how it's going to work out first. You know, like I said, one of the big things that has been a focus to me is to make sure that the high ground is not dominant. You know, it should be beneficial, but not dominant. And one of the ways to do that is to make sure that if you do choose the high ground, you're more exposed as a result of it. So you can see we kind of get to the top of this here. We're up at the, you know, one of the highest points on the map. Actually, I think this is probably the highest point of the map right here. And you can see, you're able to see, you know, clear across to the other side. There's a lake there. You know, we spawned initially down there by that lake. So that's the lake that we're kind of looking at there. And then once you're over here, you know, you do have kind of a sharp fall off to this. You do have, you know, some valleys and stuff, but there are some pathways that will get you up top here. And, you know, you can kind of see, so there in the distance, see how the trees are fading from snow to, you know, snow covered to non-snow covered. So you can kind of see like that elevation shift. And that was really important to me. So I grew up in the Northwest, not the Northeast, but I grew up with snow, and this is very much something that you can absolutely see if you live in one of those regions. You know, you see kind of the snow line on the mountains, and I wanted to be able to simulate and replicate that inside of Fittest. And I think that, you know, that ultimately we've done a pretty good job of that. So, you know, kind of wandering around here, but we do have a snowstorm that is going to kick in here in about, I'd say it's about 30 seconds or so. You know, so bear with me here. You'll kind of get to see what a snowstorm looks like. Now, this is a full-on snowstorm, so this isn't going to progress. The other one was rain, but the rain is impacted by elevation. If a snowstorm kicks in, the entire map sees snow, so you won't see like half rain, half snow. And here we go, where it's you know, it's just kind of starting to come in here. So that's kind of the difference between a snowstorm and a rainstorm. You know, a rainstorm can turn to snow if you're at a higher elevation. A snowstorm will be a snowstorm anywhere across the map. And you can see some of the pathways here to be able to climb up and down this, you know, be able to kind of work your way around and whatnot. And, you know, and again, there are some pathways and stuff. There are actually a lot of features on this map that have not been built in yet. You know, there's so far there are no kind of villages, there are no buildings, there's no camps, there's no AI. You know, I wanted to keep this clean and just kind of show you the direction that we're trying to go with this map now. And over the next 2 weeks, you know, we'll be building in all of that stuff that we're talking about. So by the end of this coming sprint, you know, AI will be spawned, they will be shooting at us, you know, doing all of that kind of cool stuff. There will be plenty of buildings, plenty of loot spots, plenty of extraction zones, like that kind of stuff set up. And, you know, really by the end of this sprint, I feel like we're going to have the very good foundation of a good solid game here that you can actually start to see some of the gameplay and whatnot. And then after that, we'll kind of go back and we'll just start, you know, start polishing and fixing the areas and, you know, start leading up towards our open beta. But you know, you can see some of these trees blowing around here, and I love this. You know, and you can see it with the rainstorm as well. This again is towards the lower end of it, so the severity for this particular storm is pretty low. But again, this can kind of grow in severity. And as that happens, these trees will really start to sway some more. You'll get a whole lot more snow coming in. just the precipitation in general becomes much denser and much thicker. And it's really kind of cool when it happens, but that's, we'll show that off in future videos, and you'll experience it kind of firsthand. I don't want to give it all in but you'll be able to experience it kind of firsthand as you start to do some of the beta testing. So in summation here, I'm kind of growing to the end of this. I appreciate any of those that actually stayed around this long. I guess it's a lot of my voice and a lot of me talking and stuff, but I appreciate you sticking around. Be sure to do all of the social things. Go out, join us on Discord. At a bare minimum, join us on Discord, where we've got a nice little budding community growing here. If you're capable to, please head over to Patreon, support us there. Today's the last day of the month, actually. So if you join as a patron today, you can name an in-game character. Starting tomorrow, February 1st, we will be doing an additional promotion on Patreon. You'll probably be able to name an in-game boss. So one of the faction leaders, you'll be able to name those, but those are limited in size. So I think it'll probably come to like the first 5 that join up at a certain tier. And I don't have the details. I'll post that on Twitter and such, but keep an eye out for that. If you don't want to support on Patreon, completely get it. Head over to, head over and pick up some merch. Maybe, maybe that's a good way. You'll get a t-shirt or a cup or something like that has the Fittest logo and some artwork on it. But, overall, just, appreciate y'all being here. I can't tell you, and we realize there are some transition issues there, but we just got out of the snow there. But, appreciate everybody that's, that's stuck around, that's supported us thus far, that's interacted with us in any way. Hope you enjoy the direction changes here. By all means, let us know what your thoughts are. And, with that, I'll see you probably Friday for the next developer blog. Thanks all. Have a great week.